It also boasts devastating secondary abilities, such as the solid ice wall and the shattering ice thorn explosion, a true spectacle for the supernova trials. The Supernova Gauntlet is divided into high school and university divisions, gathering nearly every one of the nation's most exceptional young adventurers. In the high school division alone, a total of 180 participants have assembled to prove their worth. This elite group includes 32 five-star professionals, each having earned a coveted spot on this year's Supernova list. Joining them are 148 four-star professionals, hand-picked from every region, prompting murmurs throughout the crowd. Onlookers note that not only are the directors of the 3 most prestigious universities present, but also high-ranking representatives from the 7 major guilds. Even the Adventurer Management Bureau has sent its delegates, making this an event of a truly unprecedented scale, as many remark. It is whispered that those who distinguish themselves today might be directly recruited by these influential figures. A chosen few will gain access to unimaginable resources at the signing gala, and could even join the personal organization of a legendary figure. Upon graduation, they would begin their careers as captains at the very least, a future far beyond the reach of ordinary adventurers. Some admit they would be content to simply greet these titans, to leave a fleeting impression in their minds. After all, with so many aspirants gathered, the powerful figures are unlikely to remember anyone who doesn't make a bold move. Suddenly, someone spots a lone figure striding toward the esteemed guests, pointing him out to the awestruck group. Another challenger scoffs. "Do you really dare to compare yourself to him, the one bold enough to approach those legends?" "That's Kalis," they explain, ranked first on this year's Supernova list. His brother is Cyrus, the renowned leader of the Azure Talon Guild. The first boy laughs nervously, admitting he was only jesting, and adds that ever since Kalis awakened his abilities, he has never trained alongside his peers, for his companions have always been the most elite members of his family's guild. A girl remarks that such comparisons only breed jealousy, noting that everyone present knows the legendary God's Judgment Dungeon was recently conquered. As all eyes drift toward Kalis, the boy comments that the very individual who achieved that impossible conquest was a martial artist the same class as the blonde-haired boy standing not far from them. He adds that according to the rumors, Shixiong's power had grown by leaps and bounds under the tutelage of that formidable individual. Furthermore, he had consumed a rare, high-level experience elixir, a privilege reserved only for the Blue Sharp Claw Guild. His true strength was now a mystery, likely far exceeding anyone's expectations. In that moment, the hiss of an arriving bus cut through the tension. A voice cried out, announcing the arrival of the team from Chinu Academy, prompting a young man to ask if this was the group everyone was buzzing about. Indeed, it was the very team that had dominated online speculation. Ning Fung descended, followed by his director and the rest of his formidable squad. A murmur of awe rippled through the students. The Chinu Academy team possessed an intense presence, their auras radiating immense power. They appeared less like students and more like a seasoned unit of veterans. In stark contrast, their director began sweating, feeling the pressure. He was unnerved by the countless stares, recalling the old adage, "The tallest tree always catches the strongest wind." He recognized these weren't just curious glances, they were the looks of rivals sizing up their competition. Meanwhile, Ning Fung's perception sharpened as his system revealed a hidden truth. He detected numerous attempts to scan his power level, but each was effortlessly deflected by his passive ability, the Mystic Barrier. Clearly, he had become a person of great interest. Nearby, a young man voiced his astonishment at the protagonist's impressive concealment. The inability to get a reading left him baffled, making him wonder if Ning Fung had already surpassed the second transformation. A girl beside him remarked that he was only a high school student, and she couldn't recall ever seeing his name on the prestigious Supernova list. A sense of unease washed over Mr. Arca. He too had tried to gauge the young man's power, only to be met with an impenetrable wall. Yu Linghua's eyes widened in disbelief, questioning if the young man before them could truly be the same Ning Fung she knew. She wondered if his level might even eclipse old Lao Feng's. Shui, however, theorized that Duan had given him an item that blocked detection. From the crowd, Shixiong observed that from the moment Ning Fung appeared, he had commanded the absolute focus of everyone present. This forced him to question the true depths of his rival's strength. The blonde youth's mind then drifted back to Duan's recorded conquest of the secret realm. He had simulated that battle countless times with his guild's strongest members, yet Duan's sheer power had always exceeded their wildest imaginations. Her feats were simply impossible to replicate. A chilling thought then crossed Shixiong's mind. What if Ning Fung's strength was on that very same level? They must possess a special training method, a secret that he and his brother desperately need. Langdon approaches Ivan, subtly probing to see if he will try to gauge the protagonist's true power. Ivan, however, refuses. deeming such an act far too disrespectful. A moment later, old Mr. Langdon waves to the protagonist's group, a gesture he immediately catches. A ripple of surprise flows through the onlookers, shocked to see the esteemed Mr. Langdon greeting the newcomers. Julian becomes incensed, demanding to know if Old Man Langdon is truly that famous. The old man simply laughs it off, claiming he was just being friendly. Julian firmly declares that their own group is officially organized, their backing and conditions in no way inferior. He tells Langdon to cease his games, warning him that his age is showing. Inside the exam organization room, a new announcement is made. An organizer calls for team leaders to bring their members forward and register in an orderly fashion. While our protagonist fills out the required documents, the organizer's voice booms out, instructing the team leaders. All students are to head to the designated location immediately after completing their registration. There, they will await a unified introduction to the training camp. Later, in the auditorium, a powerful voice addresses the crowd. As you all know, the secret realms have undergone unprecedented changes in recent years. To adapt to these shifts as quickly as possible, and to discover new paths for human advancement, we must cultivate and select a greater number of elites. The speaker emphasizes that this training camp has drawn significant attention from all quarters. Meanwhile, Director Zane turns to his colleague. He asks Director Ford if this Felix is his school's secret weapon, questioning why he's being guarded with such intense secrecy. Why won't you allow anyone to verify the boy's power level? Director Ford just laughs, coolly stating that the information is classified. He reflects inwardly that ever since Caleb, a promising student, transferred from their school to Zenith Academy, Director Zane has been relentlessly pestering him for updates. However, thanks to his own rigorous defense, Zane has been unable to glean any information. Ford knows Zane's concern is feigned, his words dripping with sarcasm. But he decides not to engage, considering himself the bigger man. Nearby, Director Jensen laughs, commenting that many directors share the same curiosity. The spectators present today are burning with anticipation, eager to witness the caliber of education fostered at Chinu 7 High. It is, after all, a prestigious academy renowned for cultivating supernovas, and at this very moment, the collective gaze of the directors falls upon Director Fang. They silently urge him not to falter, a pressure that brings to mind a special training session held some time ago. Wang Yue and the others had endured a grueling program, but to his dismay, the true results of that ordeal remain a complete unknown. Despite this, he reasons that for prodigies like Wang Yue, Rui Feng, and Chung Mukyu, there is little need for concern. They are, by all accounts, the top-ranked students on the supernova list. His confidence wavers, however, as he looks at Ning, a seed of uncertainty planted in his mind. Could he and the others truly withstand such a harrowing trial? A woman's voice then cuts through the tension, explaining the rules. The training camp, she announces, operates on a free team formation system, with a standard squad size of 5 members per team. In the final tally, everyone's performance will be judged on a synthesis of individual merit and team-based points. The ultimate prize. The top 10 students in the high school division's point rankings will ascend to train within the university division. She also emphasizes a preliminary test, revealing that before the camp officially begins, all participants will be vetted within a secret realm. The sole condition for entry into this mysterious domain is that one must be below the 3rd stage of transformation. Following this, a special exhibition match will be held, a demonstration of power for everyone in attendance. A surge of excitement electrifies the crowd as Shixiong's team flashes across the grand screen. A ripple of understanding spreads as people realize why. It was only fitting, as this team was composed of legends who had dominated the supernova list for the past 5 consecutive years. Hailed as the elites among elites, this temporary peak team then proceeds toward the shimmering entrance of the secret realm. The white-haired young man nonchalantly remarks that they should probably go easy on the others later on. He advises against putting too much pressure on the juniors, leaving his friend to ask in confusion what he could possibly mean. He clarifies, noting the many powerful figures who have gathered for this training camp, this is a golden opportunity that comes once in a lifetime for all involved. And though their team is only a temporary arrangement, if a single person proves to be a dead weight, dragging the rest of them down, he insists they have no right to judge him for turning his back, before rallying the team to press onward. The moment the Vanguard Elite squad steps into the arcane realm, the air crackles with a palpable tension. The silver-haired youth detects a potent, corrupting miasma in the air, prompting the blonde-haired girl to take the lead. Confidently declaring she will handle it, she unleashes her power, but their relief is short-lived, as monstrous spiders begin to descend from the darkness above. Without a moment's hesitation, the arachnids charge the adventurers, who respond with lightning-fast reflexes, moving with breathtaking speed to counter the assault. Onlookers, observing the Vanguard Elite in action, are left in awe by the sheer velocity and precision of their maneuvers. Their eyes lock onto Sean, noting that he isn't lagging behind the others, shattering any illusion that he is merely a high school student. Julian Cole, watching Sean's performance, grudgingly admits to himself that the boy has ascended to a level far beyond their own. Mr. Fang comments that he has heard whispers about the 5 prodigies on the Vanguard Elite squad. They have been training intensely together, and if nurtured properly, could soon begin conquering high-level arcane realms, a sentiment with which Evelyn agrees. She observes that they seem poised to reach true elite status, advancing relentlessly with little need for rest. Evelyn notes their incredible speed in reaching the chamber's boss, just as Sean smiles while his entire team charges into the final confrontation. The battle is over in what feels like a flash, and the holographic screen displays the results of their conquest. The Vanguard Elite squad completed the subjugation in 48 minutes and 18 seconds, establishing an astonishing new record. Other participants murmur that this outcome was expected from those 5, lamenting that they wish their own names could grace that leaderboard. A figure approaches the protagonist, asking if he is truly Nathan Feng, before introducing herself as the renowned Caitlin Yu. She mentions that Mayor Donovan Ming is her uncle, a connection that leaves Wyatt visibly impressed upon seeing her. He remarks that she is one of the top 5 powerhouses within the legendary Vanguard Elite squad. Caitlin explains that her uncle often speaks of Nathan and that she simply came over to greet him, an interaction that draws the eyes of everyone nearby. They wonder why someone of Caitlin's stature, a top student at the prestigious Beijing Imperial University, is conversing with a mere contender from the high school division. Evelyn then steps forward, revealing her identity as the granddaughter of the founder of Sterling Commerce. She graciously expresses her pleasure in meeting them all, extending a remarkable offer for the duration of the training camp. Should anyone require anything, they need only ask her directly, and she will personally ensure her family's company dispatches it immediately. Felix lets out a hearty laugh, remarking on her impressive kindness before shouting a jest over to Leon. He tells him to keep a close eye on their friend, joking that every woman he seems to meet is a peerless beauty. Not only that, but their family backgrounds and personal strengths just keep getting more and more formidable. Evelyn reflects internally. Though her uncle had mentioned Felix often, the true extent of his power remained a complete mystery to her. She resolves to use this chance to gauge his abilities firsthand. At that moment, a member of the elite temporary peak team makes his approach. He invites Evelyn to join their distinguished group to find a place to rest, but she calmly declines. She states that she has no desire to leave, preferring to remain and observe how the rest of the exam unfolds. Annoyed, he questions what could possibly be so captivating about watching this trial, given that they are undeniably the most powerful participants present. But then Master Kenji states that he, too, wishes to stay and watch, a quiet declaration that compels the other members to relent and agree. As the other teams venture forth to begin their evaluations, an observer remarks on the nature of the trial. Whenever 6 teams breach the secret realm simultaneously, each one is given a unique set of evaluation tasks to complete. The final scores are then calculated based on the completion rate of those tasks, and it is becoming painfully clear that every team is struggling immensely. Director Vance cries out in frustration, declaring that the secret realm's difficulty is simply too high for students at the high school level. He worries that if things continue this way, not a single team in the entire high school division will manage to pass. The director adds that since Master Kenji's legendary run, no other team has even managed to get their name on the leaderboard. They are being completely overwhelmed by mere minions, unable to even get close to the realm's final boss. How can they possibly dream of reaching the leaderboard? Director Vance observes grimly as the students' morale plummets, and it's painfully obvious that many are falling short. This unacceptable state of affairs cannot persist, remarks one of the temporary peak team members. With a dismissive yawn, he mutters to his friend, "I told you this would be a bore. There's nothing worth seeing here. Every single one of them is utterly pathetic." Just then, Nolan's team approaches the staging area. He respectfully greets the instructor, announcing, "We're next in the queue, here to receive our evaluation assignment." Moments later, they step through the shimmering portal into the secret realm, their destination, the treacherous Ironjaw Swamp. Immediately, they access the system interface to review their objectives, and Nolan Fang is the first to speak. It seems teams are typically categorized into one of 4 primary roles based on their function, he explains. First, you have the assault teams, which are the main combat forces. They're tasked with conquering uncharted secret realms, or serving as the vanguard against formidable threats. Then, there are the research teams. Their mission is to conduct studies within these realms, uncovering knowledge that will ultimately benefit all of humanity. Following them are the guard teams, responsible for protecting, territories we already control, or providing cover for non-combat personnel during critical emergencies. And finally, the support teams. Their purpose is to amplify battlefield effectiveness, applying enhancements and providing emergency healing to sustain the fight and minimize casualties. Nolan Fang notes that each of these categories comes with 10 specific tasks, in addition to one overarching main objective. Wendy Wang turns to their leader, asking which type of assignment he intends to select. Without hesitation, Nolan replies, "We'll be taking on a research task." She smiles wryly, responding, "Somehow, I expected as much from the top student in our theoretical class." Nolan reflects inwardly that his true motivation runs deeper. There are still so many mysteries he has yet to unravel. He ponders the nature of gods, the intricate web of ancient families, and the concept of world levels. Choosing a research path is the perfect way to merge practical training with his quest for knowledge. Shannon Ting's face lights up with excitement. "Yes, let's all vote for research," she adds confidently. "It'll be perfectly fine, especially with a powerhouse like him leading us." Ray and Zach Zong quickly agree, voicing no objections. However, the blonde-haired girl on their team urges everyone to pause. "Hold on a moment," she cautions. "Look at the end of Research Task 1. It requires 2 live captures. If we have to manage delicate specimens while simultaneously battling the final boss, things could get incredibly complicated." As they deliberate, the system projects a notification. Research Tasks 1 through 10 available for selection. The challenge is worth a full 10 points, but it demands the live capture of a monstrous crab from the depths of the swamp. On top of that, the creature must meet strict research criteria. Ning Fung simply smiles, suggesting they can just deal with the main boss first. Meanwhile, in the observation room, the director's crestfallen mood is shattered by a sudden, urgent cry. Someone shouts for everyone to focus on the monitor, where they witness the unbelievable speed of one team's progress. The students murmur among themselves, identifying the team from Chinyu 7th High School and wondering how such a pace is even possible. Even the members of the renowned temporary peak team are stunned, commenting that the Protoss team's advancement speed is simply absurd. It was blindingly clear they were moving several times faster than their own team. One competitor realized this must be why her uncle, Dong Ming, held them in such high esteem. An amazed Ying Jin, watching the Protoss team's flawless performance, turns to the veteran old Lao Fang. He asks if the skills being displayed are truly legendary level. Lao Fang confirms his suspicion, and Ying Jin is visibly alarmed. "Are legendary skills really that powerful?" he asks. Lao Fang clarifies that it's not merely about the skills themselves. Those students, he explains, are exceptionally powerful on their own. Ying Jin can only agree, noting their perfect combination of abilities and timing. Their team coordination is absolutely top-notch. Sweating nervously, he focuses on Ning Fung, noticing that their leader doesn't even seem to be using any advanced skills. And yet, with what appears to be a simple attack, he completely neutralizes his enemies. It's a staggering display of raw power. A flustered director Zhang tries to get a word in with Director Yang, but Yang silences him with a sharp gesture, stating that there is no time for idle chatter. His eyes are glued to the screen, as the Protoss team has already engaged the elite monsters with breathtaking speed. The moment the creatures are defeated, the team surges forward, and in what feels like the blink of an eye, they stand before the final boss. Without the slightest hesitation, Wang Yue and Zhang Shu leap forward, as their blonde archer behind them prepares a devastating arrow. At the same time, their berserker wields his mighty axe. Their coordinated assault overwhelms the final boss, felling it with astonishing ease as the screen flashes with an update. The Protoss team has shattered the record previously held by the temporary peak team, clearing the challenge in an unbelievable 8 minutes and 14 seconds. A wave of astonishment ripples through the onlookers. Nathan Fung turns to his team, his voice cutting through the noise. Did everyone complete their objectives? Triumphant smiles break across their faces as they shout in unison. The protagonist gives a sharp nod. "All right, let's move out and report back." As they step out, they're met with a baffling sight. The entire student body, gathered, and waiting for them in silence. The quiet is shattered by a single clap from Marcus Chang, soon echoed by Juno and his friend, initiating a cascade of applause. The area erupts in cheers and thunderous applause. Marcus comments with a smirk, "They're a decent bunch, the kind you want watching your back in here." Juno, seizing the moment, projects his voice to the crowd. "Hey! When people were online, slandering Nathan Feng, I was the one who went head-to-head with every last one of them. I can't stand by and watch injustice happen, and I absolutely despise it when people resort to cowardly tricks behind someone's back." The organizers, observing this spectacle, exchange amused glances. One chuckles, remarking, "Well, It seems student morale has absolutely skyrocketed. The other agrees. This is the undeniable charm of the truly powerful. It's reminiscent of Evan Ying and Liu Feng in their glory days. At that very moment, a voice crackles over the megaphone. The high school division evaluation has officially concluded. Students erupt in excited shouts, knowing the top 10 rankings were about to be revealed. Yet, there was little suspense in the air. Everyone figured that Chinu Academy had already locked down half of the available spots, and with Sean's inclusion, they murmured, only 4 positions remain. The organizers began to announce the names: Sean, Juno, Leo Qi, and Marcus Chang. A wave of confusion swept the crowd at the omission of Nathan Feng's name. Juno immediately asked a teacher, "Weren't Nathan and the others chosen?" The instructor smiled knowingly. "They don't occupy the regular student slots," he explained. He revealed that the organizing committee has unanimously decided to grant them the official status of teaching assistants. Following this revelation, the protagonist's team followed an official who approached them directly. "Are you the Sovereign Lion team?" he asked Nathan Feng. "I'm here to be your escort," he stated, then explained. "The professor who is in charge of the research group will be unavailable for a number of days, so I will be arranging for your stay at a designated location." He added reassuringly, "It's a lodge specifically designated for our instructors, I assure you. The environment is excellent." This meant they could bypass the student dormitories entirely, settling directly into their new quarters in room 6. The 4 of them had just begun to unpack when a sharp knock echoed at the door. It was the esteemed Lao Feng, leaving the blonde boy utterly stunned and confused. He couldn't comprehend why such an influential figure was present, and his shock deepened when he saw President Ying Jin appear right behind him. He was followed by the other guild leaders, and the sheer prestige gathered in their doorway sent the young man's world into a spin. Wangbo offered his thanks to the dumbfounded blonde boy, who could only stammer that it was no trouble, all the while convinced he must be caught in a vivid dream. Seeing the nation's most powerful figures assembled in one room was surreal. Breaking the silence, Dang Yuanhu stepped forward to command their attention and introduce himself. He revealed himself as the director of Beijing University, then turned his focus directly to our protagonist, posing a life-altering question. He inquired if the young man was interested in studying at his esteemed university. Before an answer could be formed, Tang Si introduced herself as the director of Western Union University. She made her own powerful pitch, stressing that her university was home to the most formidable research team in the entire country, extending a formal invitation for our protagonist to join them. Next, Wu Chen came forward, identifying himself as the director of Chongwu University. He played a strategic card, mentioning that Qin Yu, our protagonist's hometown, was in close proximity to his campus, a detail that left Ning Fung utterly shocked. He berated himself internally, feeling completely ill-equipped for such high-pressure negotiations. Lao Feng, sensing the growing tension, decided to intervene. He swiftly urged the 3 directors to temper their approach, gently pointing out that their intense recruiting was placing the students in an incredibly awkward position. He suggested they allow the youths to participate in the training camp first, tabling these discussions for a more suitable time, which made the directors flush with embarrassment. The 3 of them verbally conceded, but a silent resolve hardened in their expressions. None was prepared to let the others gain an upper hand. Our protagonist continued the polite conversation, but the eventful evening led to a restless night. The next day, he woke with a heavy yawn, drained from the lack of sleep. He was startled to find his friends already awake and looking equally exhausted. John Shu, his eyes shadowed by dark circles, began to explain. He lamented that he had been bombarded with a relentless barrage of calls from his family since the crack of dawn. They were all desperate to know which university he planned to choose, adding that he heard the 3 major universities had contacted their group specifically. Rui, also sleep-deprived, complained that he couldn't get any rest because of John Shu's phone ringing incessantly. Ning Fung turns to the girls, casually asking if they encountered any issues. One of them lazily responds that Wang Yue is still preoccupied with a phone call. She reveals that her father is so overjoyed he's arranging a 3-day celebratory banquet. Junsu smiles, adding that his own home has been a revolving door of relatives and friends, and his parents are finally basking in the recognition he has earned them. Rui remarks that with his grandfather's support, things are much calmer for him, and he plans to simply follow Ning Fang's lead. Hearing about their families, Ning Fang feels a sharp pang of loneliness, a reminder that he has no one to rely on. Just then, his phone chimes. Answering it, he recognizes the voice of Professor Chi Wei. She asks how he is finding the training camp, and if he is adapting well. Professor Chi Wei then mentions that 3 major universities have contacted her to inquire about Ning Fang's collegiate plans. He chuckles, noting that she seems to be fielding all the important calls for him. Professor Chi-Wei confirms this, joking that she knows he tends to stay up late, so she decided it was the perfect time to call. Ning Fung is genuinely touched by her thoughtfulness and asks for her advice on the matter. Later, the training camp organizers gather to greet all the university students and the 10 high school participants. The students begin, whispering amongst themselves about the monstrous talent in this year's high school division. With 5 students already at the instructor level, even more astonishing is the fact that 3 of those 5 prodigies are not even on the renowned Supernova list. The head professor announces that the first stage of their special training, the Secret Realm rating, will commence that day. He stresses that the secret realm they are about to venture into has not been completely explored. It may contain all sorts of unforeseen dangers. He urges everyone to adhere to commands and operate within their known limits. Before they set out, he instructs everyone to confirm their group assignments with their respective professors. Furthermore, he informs the group that each of the 10 high school students will be integrated into a university team. Chang Mukyu steps forward, introduces herself to the professor, and inquires which team she has been assigned to. With a simple gesture, the professor pointed to a group nearby, declaring, "You will be a part of their team." She turned, her eyes landing on Liam Feng's squad, her new assignment. Moments later, they were plunged deep within an uncharted secret realm. As monstrous creatures began their relentless advance, Liam Feng remained utterly absorbed, analyzing the beasts and discovering they were a new subspecies of lizardmen, towering over 2.5 meters tall. It was Ruby who noticed the danger. Seeing that her leader was distracted, she leaped forward, blocking a vicious attack from one of the lizardmen. However, another beast charged directly at Liam Feng, but he met it with a brutally casual elbow strike, effortlessly felling the creature. Afterward, Liam Feng nonchalantly took a seat on the vanquished monster, calmly concluding that they weighed between 800 and 1,000 kilograms, their scales providing formidable defense. Chloe Cheng could only marvel, realizing they were already in the deepest parts of the secret realm. They had somehow surpassed even the fastest assault team. She thought to herself that the group's performance had been nothing short of extraordinary so far. Experience points were accumulating at an incredible rate, as if Liam Feng was single-handedly elevating everyone's potential as she watched them fight. Chloe Cheng noticed that compared to their first harrowing encounter, Wendy Wong and the others had improved beyond measure. She wondered if by earning their genuine respect, she too could reach that incredible level of skill. Liam Feng's voice cut through her thoughts, mentioning that Professor Wei had said the research team at Western Union University is, indeed, incredibly strong, but their rigid management and strict rules would make it difficult for him to adapt. On the other hand, the research team at Beijing University offered a much greater degree of freedom, which he felt would be a far better fit for him. Wendy Wong felt a surge of happiness for her friend, commenting that this level of careful consideration was precisely what one would expect from Professor Wei's star student. At that very moment, Tina Xiao urgently told everyone to check the class group chat. A wave of shock washed over them as they read the messages. It was a thread where frantic students were asking for Professor Wei's location. Then came the chilling reply from a classmate. She was still trapped inside the secret realm and had not yet come out. Their leader spotted an audio message in the feed and pressed play. A student's desperate scream tore through the silence, yelling that the situation inside the dungeon is deteriorating, with desperate pleas to rescue those trapped within the secret realm. Simultaneously, chaos erupts in the city as a guard captain reports through his communicator. He relays that the training dungeon has undergone a sudden, catastrophic shift, and the monster's power levels have skyrocketed. Nearly 100 people are still stranded inside, and he stresses that the magical fluctuations at the entrance are too volatile for entry. The air crackles with unstable energy, rendering any rescue attempt impossible. Just as a group of terrified students bursts onto the scene, the startled captain instinctively warns one of the fleeing students to stay back from the unstable portal. With a trembling finger, the young man points toward the dungeon, his voice cracking as he screams that his teacher is still inside. He begs the captain to save her, but the official hesitates before shouting back with grim finality. He declares that a rescue is impossible, demanding to know if the boy has seen the state of the corrupted dungeon. The captain explains that reinforcements have been summoned, and their only course of action is to await the arrival of specialized rescue teams. The student furiously rejects this, screaming at the captain to act, blaming him for the shortage of support mages in the first place. He roars that Professor Chi-Wei only entered because of the captain's inaction, and now he's abandoning her to her fate. The captain coldly clarifies that it is the professor's own duty to ensure her survival. He asserts with chilling pragmatism that if she cannot escape, it is her own failing. No one compelled her to join the rescue mission. The other students look on, horrified by the captain's harsh decree, when a familiar voice cuts through the tension. They turn to see Ethan, the protagonist, whose first and only concern is the whereabouts of his professor. Jiang Luo explains that she remains trapped within the secret realm, where the school had organized a routine training session. With tears in her eyes, Jo Nana adds that the dungeon suddenly transformed, and countless others are still caught inside. She recounts how Professor Chi Wei risked everything, barely managing to create an opening for them to escape. The professor had stepped up, Jo Nana explains, only after the guard team announced they were undermanned and needed volunteers for the rescue. The adventurer's face contorts with rage, and he bellows at the girl, ordering her to remain silent. He continues his furious tirade, blaming our hero for his master's demise, as if he were personally responsible. Wasting no more time, Ethan slams the adventurer's head forcefully into the ground. A nearby guard witnesses this and immediately prepares to intervene. He shouts at Ethan, demanding to know what he is doing, but a firm hand suddenly rests on the guard's shoulder, stopping him. It is Marcus Vance, who gives the guard a severe look and commands him not to move a muscle. Ethan begins to drag the adventurer's limp body. Another onlooker watches, breaking into a nervous sweat. He wonders in fear who could possibly stop the protagonist's determined actions. At that moment, Ethan notices a man standing directly in his path. As two new figures appear, our hero recognizes one as the vice president of the prestigious Era Guild. He immediately questions the man's presence, wondering if he has arrived with much-needed support. If so, it would be a tremendous relief, as assistance has finally come. The adventurer with him steps forward to report to Ethan. He confirms that the students have been successfully evacuated to safety, and then asks for an update on the situation. Our hero replies that the circumstances are still dangerously uncertain. The adventurer offers more men, but Ethan declines. He asserts that they are capable of handling the crisis themselves, all while continuing to carry the unconscious adventurer. The vice president of the Era Guild then asks about the man on the ground, and Ethan begins to explain the situation. He clarifies that the incapacitated man emerged from the secret realm and is essential for guiding them back inside. As they approach the portal entrance, the guards on duty shout, informing them that entry is forbidden because the secret realm is now sealed. Alistair Crane immediately brandishes his identification, formally introducing himself as the vice president of the Era Guild. He declares that he possesses the authority to manage emergencies and demands their cooperation. The guards are stunned, realizing who they are dealing with. They recognize Alistair Crane as a powerful figure from one of the 7 great guilds. The vice president swiftly requests they open the way. Watching the exchange, Ethan concludes that Alistair Crane is clearly a person of immense influence and respect. Without hesitation, they plunged into the secret realm, only to be met with an immediate, ominous notification. A wave of weakness washed over them. Their attributes were plummeting. The mage, her voice laced with alarm, informed her captain that they had entered a domain effect. This was a persistent aura, either beneficial or malevolent, that saturated a specific area with its power. An aura that was notoriously difficult, if not impossible, to dispel. Liam spoke up then, revealing he knew this treacherous realm. He was certain this debilitating domain hadn't existed before, concluding it must be a terrifying new development. His gaze then shifted to their leader, Nolan. Liam noted that Nolan seemed entirely unaffected. Nolan himself concluded coolly that his own fundamental power was simply too immense. Even under the domain's influence, the drain was negligible for him, but he knew his companions were on a rapidly draining clock. His thoughts turned to Professor Chloe, praying she was safe. With that grim thought, Nolan unceremoniously dropped the unconscious man he was carrying. Liam urged the mage to rouse their captive. He was their only guide. She immediately channeled her magic, jolting the adventurer back to the world of the living. The man awoke in a sheer panic, screaming that the location where his group was stranded was a world away. He cried that the path was a death trap, swarming with monsters so fierce that passage was utterly impossible. Nolan's voice, cold as steel, cut through the man's frantic cries. He informed the adventurer that his true misfortune was not the monsters, but running into him, and then gave a chilling order to lead them to the professor. The unspoken threat hung heavy in the air: cooperate, or never leave this place alive. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the cursed realm, another drama was unfolding. Deep inside a cavern, a group was trapped, staring down several branching paths, wondering which one led to safety and which to ruin. Down one of those dark tunnels, monstrous silhouettes began to stir. One of the adventurers saw them, and his face went pale with terror. He was surrounded by his injured and exhausted comrades, while Professor Chloe desperately tried to mend their wounds with her healing magic. A gravely wounded man pleaded with her to take a moment for herself, his voice weak as he pointed out how long she'd been pushing her limits. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice gentle but firm. "I will rest when you are stable. Your wound cannot wait." Her selfless resolve moved a young girl to silent tears. As the girl whispered her heartfelt thanks, another adventurer overheard, his weary eyes filled with a dawning sense of wonder. He couldn't help but wonder what the point was in saving these people. They were all rank 3 or lower adventurers who, even united, stood no chance against the horrors lurking in this place. After administering healing magic to one of the adventurers, the man shakily attempted to stand, remarking that he felt much better. Nearby, another survivor's voice was filled with dread. He noted how much time had passed, questioning if rescue would ever come. A third adventurer tried to offer some reassurance, insisting that help would definitely arrive. But in that very moment, a cavern wall exploded inward as a monster burst through, plunging them all into terror. The creature wasted no time, charging directly at them. A young girl was frozen solid with fear, but her father lunged forward, placing himself in the monster's path. He grappled with the beast, desperately blocking its attack as his daughter screamed his name. He urged everyone to flee immediately, vowing to hold the monster off for as long as he possibly could. Just then, more creatures appeared from the shadows and began their pursuit. One of the monsters leaped through the air, targeting the girl who remained paralyzed in a state of shock. Suddenly, a radiant shield of magic materialized, protecting her from the attack. Professor Evans watched, completely astonished. The man our hero had dragged into this secret realm was equally stunned. This was the work of Leon Drake, who had arrived with his team in the nick of time. Lucas Vance and his partner, the mage Alara, immediately began to use their skills, weaving spells of healing among the injured. Our hero and the professor stood in grim silence, watching the little girl sob uncontrollably over her father's lifeless body. The mage reported to Lucas Vance that, including the fallen, there were only about 20 people present in this area. The others, she confirmed, were nowhere to be found. As that bleak news settled, an intense tremor shook the very ground beneath their feet. Soon, a colossal creature began to rise from the depths of the dark cave. Jax, the team's berserker, wasted no time and unleashed a powerful strike upon it. But something was wrong. The monster's skin began to regenerate at an unnatural rate, leaving the berserker utterly stunned. He could only watch as the creature's severed tentacle reformed in mere seconds. They realized with dawning horror that this abomination was blocking the only exit. One of the monster's tentacles lashed out, streaking toward the professor and the girl, but Leon Drake moved like lightning. He effortlessly sliced the appendage apart, then turned and shouted, ordering everyone to rally behind him. Nathan Feng continued his relentless assault, striking the beast again and again with seemingly limitless energy, as Leo noticed a crucial detail. The tentacle severed by our hero had completely lost its ability to regenerate. At that exact moment, a glimmer of light pierced the darkness ahead, and a collective shout of hope erupted from the weary adventurers. Believing they were near the cave's exit, they broke into a desperate sprint, only to have their relief turn to ice-cold dread as the demonic octopus itself leaped down, blocking their path. Liu Ping cried out in shock at the creature's immense scale, and Wendy Yue stood frozen in terror, but our protagonist, Nathan, charged forward without hesitation. Shouting for her to stay put, he closed the distance, his mind racing with the possibility that this colossal beast was the very heart of the secret realm's corruption. He realized that defeating it could restore balance to this chaotic space. However, the creature had other plans. In a blur of motion, a massive tentacle hurtled toward him. He managed to raise his sword just in time to block, but the sheer force of the impact shattered the blade. Leo exclaimed that the monster's power had destroyed Nathan's sword, but Nathan himself was already seizing another weapon, his gaze narrowing with intense concentration. He channeled an incredible surge of energy into the new blade and resumed his devastating assault, cleanly slicing through the creature's writhing tentacles. His relentless attacks only served to enrage the beast further. Shifting tactics, he unleashed his ice explosion ability, conjuring a storm of razor-sharp ice spikes that impaled the giant octopus. Giving it no time to recover, he pressed his ferocious onslaught, culminating in one final, cataclysmic strike with his sword. The blow triggered a massive explosion, obliterating the monstrous creature. In the ensuing silence, shimmering items, the spoils of victory, began to materialize and fall around our hero. Meanwhile, outside the secret realm, rows of mobilized troops stood at the ready, awaiting the adventurers' emergence. Support teams rushed to the survivors as they stumbled out of the dungeon, offering comfort and reassurance that their harrowing ordeal was finally over. But relief was mixed with sorrow, as others wept for their fallen comrades. It was then that Leo approached Nathan, his voice heavy with gratitude. saying it was all because of him. He affirmed that the secret realm was now stable, averting a disaster that could have had far more devastating consequences for everyone. At that moment, Nathan Feng's gaze fell upon his professor, whose expression was uncharacteristically somber. He then noticed one of the fallen items and picked it up. He walked over and offered it to her, urging her to take it. He explained it was a healing emblem, a legendary consumable of immense value. It would permanently increase her physical and mental attributes by 5 points each, while also boosting all healing effects by an incredible 50%. Both the professor and Liu Ping were left utterly speechless by the priceless artifact. Just then, a booming voice cut through the air. It was the vice president of the Era Guild. In disbelief, Professor Chloe Wells asks if it could truly be the legendary Divine Mark. Nathan Feng explains that the creature dropped it, a statement that makes Professor Lucas Pine pause in deep thought. He reflects that this is the very first time he has witnessed anyone obtain a Divine Mark since the Test Realm's seal was shattered. A thought crosses his mind. Could Nathan Feng be genuinely blessed by fate? Overwhelmed, Chloe Wells tells Nathan that she cannot possibly accept an artifact of such immense value. She protests that as a mere 3-star professional, it would be an utter waste for her to wield its power. Nathan Feng simply lets out a laugh. He dismisses her concerns, urging her to accept it without another thought. With that, the professor absorbs the power of the divine item. Nathan thinks to himself that he will need to arrange a specialized training regimen for the professor. The purpose of the session would be to help her cultivate more advanced self-defense skills, yet a complication immediately comes to mind. He is keenly aware that the official training grounds strictly prohibit the use of such powerful, unlicensed artifacts. Furthermore, completing the standard program would require more than 2 months. He turns and poses a question to Professor Lucas Pine. He asks if it might be possible for him to take a single afternoon off during the weekend, a request to which the professor immediately agrees. Lucas Pine even adds that if Nathan needs to rest, he is welcome to take several extra days off as well. Nathan Feng chuckles at the generous offer. He assures him that won't be necessary, but notes internally that despite everyone's perception of Professor Lucas Pine as an unpredictable, smiling tiger, he is surprisingly reasonable to converse with. The professor turns to the group, stating that there are just a few more minor details to conclude before they are free to leave. At that precise moment, a throng of people rushes toward them, their voices a clamor of excitement as they demand to know who defeated the giant monster. A knowing smile spreads across Lucas Pine's face as he points a finger directly at Nathan, declaring, "It was him." Nathan is stunned as a sea of microphones is thrust into his face. Reporters aggressively demand a statement about the dungeon, their questions flying. They ask if he is a student, considering his youthful appearance. They press him to share every detail of what occurred inside the secret realm. The sudden onslaught causes Nathan to panic and freeze completely. Raymond Fang observes his friend's predicament and remarks that he appears exceptionally nervous. Wendy Yue smiles softly and begins to explain. She reveals that Nathan is not skilled at speaking in formal situations, particularly during interviews, a trait he has carried since childhood. Adrian had always made it a point to dodge school interviews, so seeing him flustered and embarrassed now was quite a spectacle. Irene felt a surge of confidence, certain he would grow accustomed to the spotlight in due time. Later, inside the teacher's apartment, with Irene away at training camp, Adrian lay on his bed, his mind still reeling from the ambush of an interview he never saw coming. Suddenly, a crucial thought struck him, and he swiftly retrieved the skill book he had so recently acquired. Within its pages, he discovered the skill Soul Guardian, an ability that could miraculously block a single, fatal attack. However, its immense power was balanced by an incredibly long cooldown period. Despite this, Leo was thrilled with his new skill. He recognized its potential to be a lifesaver. Yet a darker curiosity lingered. What kind of forbidden magic might it eventually evolve into? Fueled by this discovery, he absorbed another skill, this time a passive ability ominously named Immortal Catastrophe. It granted him a single opportunity for resurrection for every 1 million faith power points he managed to accumulate. His current total was a mere 4,243 faith power points, out of a maximum of 2 million. For each world level he ascended, the cap on his storable faith power would increase by an additional 1 million points. The entire concept was utterly fascinating to him. He speculated that it might be a divine power, something passed down from gods to their most devoted vassals. Regardless of its origin, he knew this ability to defy death would prove indispensable. He already understood how to advance his world level, but the method for gathering such immense faith power remained a puzzle. A slow smile then spread across Leo's face as he realized Dean might just be the key. Meanwhile, across the city, a dark terror was unfolding as people were being assaulted by a strange, amorphous substance. the perpetrator sat chillingly amidst the victims. When two adventurers arrived on the scene, their initial bravery quickly dissolved into raw fear. The old veteran, Lawrence, also appeared, demanding a report. The adventurers explained that the man before them was named Tyson. He was a figure who had mysteriously vanished 5 years ago, only to recently resurface. They reported that he had attacked without warning during a simple argument, and the resulting chaos had already consumed more than 10 pedestrians and 8 security guards. Based on their initial assessment, they warned that his strength was on a level that clearly exceeded anything they could handle, that of a warrior who had achieved the 5th transformation. Master Fang stepped forward, remarking that Tian Yu bore a striking resemblance to Pang Hu, and even Gu Ying. The old master approached, and a wave of excitement washed over Tian Yu as he realized he was standing before the infamous Master Fang. He declared with fervor that Master Fang had been his greatest idol since his academy days, and that meeting him in person was an immense, unbelievable honor. At that very moment, Master Fang's phone began to ring, and with unsettling composure, he answered it, causing Tian Yu's admiration to curdle into pure fury. He accused the old man of gross disrespect, questioning how he could possibly answer a call during such a critical and fate-deciding moment. While continuing his conversation, Master Fang casually asked the person on the other end if they were looking for him, his tone utterly dismissive of the brewing conflict. He then promised to arrive as soon as he finished a small matter first. Now completely enraged, Tian Yu prepared to strike, questioning how Master Fang could dare to ignore him so flagrantly. He launched his assault, forming a clawed hand dripping with venom that shot directly toward the old master. Master Fang calmly ended his call, and in a single fluid motion, unleashed his signature ability, the Flaming Serpent Frenzy. The fiery attack completely obliterated Tian Yu's technique with humiliating ease, leaving the young man shocked to see his assault dispelled so effortlessly. Master Fang reflected internally that the young warrior before him was indeed as powerful as Gu Ying had been. However, he reminded himself that his own specialized training had elevated him far beyond his former self. Besides, he couldn't keep Duan waiting, and needed to conclude this confrontation with haste. Across from him, Tian Yu, seething with fury, equipped his full magical armor set and unleashed his power, a move mirrored by Master Fang. The adventurers watching from afar saw their immense auras collide. The sheer force of their clashing energies was palpable, and they commented that both combatants were incredibly powerful, clearly having surpassed the 5th transformation. Tian Yu was suddenly struck by a powerful counterattack, left stunned and reeling, believing that as a prized disciple of the Demon King, he should never lose to someone like Master Fang. But in that moment of disbelief, his eyes widened at a new sight. A massive, swirling fireball, resembling a sun-forged spirit bomb, the sphere of flame descended directly upon him, while Master Fang watched with a calm, unwavering gaze. His attack struck Tian Yu head-on in a blinding explosion. Afterward, Master Fang turned his attention to the two distant adventurers. He noted that he had another engagement to attend to, and bid them a simple farewell. Later, at the designated base, he finally met with Duan. Their conversation truly begins once Duane shares his profound intentions for the potions. Lao Feng's expression fills with astonishment as he asks if Duane is genuinely willing to release the formulas for all high-level potions to be made public. Duane confirms it, explaining that his master's words were crystal clear. He wishes to make the formulas for every high-level potion accessible to all, and if possible, to leave the matter under the stewardship of the Adventurers Guild. Lao Feng reflects on the world's critical state. The danger levels of dungeons were constantly rising, while the strength of adventurers lagged perilously behind. To improve their skills, adventurers had to challenge even more hazardous dungeons, creating a vicious and seemingly unsolvable deadlock. The old man believes that high-level potions are so transformative they could completely overhaul the existing power structure. They would become a crucial strategic resource. He also considers that the mysterious Grandmaster must have conducted a rigorous assessment before entrusting them with such a monumental responsibility. With this realization, Lao Feng thanks Duane for his trust. He remarks that what Duane has just proposed carries an immense weight for the Adventurers Guild. He then asks Duane if there are any other requirements tied to this extraordinary matter. Duane replies that his master only mentioned what he had already shared, and as far as he is aware, there are no other conditions. A fire ignites in Lao Feng's eyes, as he emphasizes that focusing solely on contribution, rather than personal benefit, is the mark of a truly great individual. In the eyes of the mysterious Grandmaster, empowering more people is more important than anything else. Duane's thoughts turn to his master. He tells the old man that this is the very essence of his master's belief, the reason he admires him so deeply. because even an act that seems insignificant at first always culminates in a heroic deed that saves countless lives. Lao Feng notes that while the master is noble and selfless, one cannot take advantage of such profound kindness. He adds that he will report their discussion to his partners and develop an appropriate plan to avoid placing the entire burden upon them. Later, within the hallowed halls of the Blue Blade Guild, a grim-faced adventurer delivers a startling report to Cyrus concerning high-level experience potions. It appears these potent elixirs, along with memory-erasing drafts, have surfaced for sale on the shadowy network of the black market. While the packaging bears no resemblance to the guild's own creations, their effects are chillingly identical. Cyrus's trusted advisor quickly interjects, clarifying that all high-level potions circulating within the Blue Blade Guild are personally concocted by Cyrus. He adds that each batch is produced under the direct supervision of the guildmaster himself, a process shrouded in secrecy. The advisor emphasizes that the distribution of these powerful items is strictly controlled and confined to guild members. This makes an internal leak virtually impossible. Cyrus's expression hardens as he notes that, across the entire world, besides himself, the only other soul known to possess the skill for refining such high-level potions is the enigmatic figure known only as the Grand Chief. He silently wonders if the legendary alchemist could be responsible for the leak, before commanding the adventurer to dispatch an investigation team at once. The adventurer, intrigued by this new development, dares to ask if their target is truly the revered Grand Chief. A flash of irritation crosses Cyrus's face. No, he barks, clarifying that their sole focus is to trace the source within the black market, and nothing more. Meanwhile, in the quiet solitude of the teacher's dormitory, Evelyn and Leon are walking, a playful glint in her eyes as she teases him. She playfully asks if he wants to see the video of the interview he gave. Flustered, he insists he has no need to watch it. Evelyn smiles, showing him the comment section on her device, remarking that his performance wasn't nearly as disastrous as he thought. Leon scrolls through the feed, seeing a flood of praise from viewers, with several even asking if he needed a personal spokesperson. To the public, a man who could both fight with immense power and save lives was the embodiment of a true hero. However, Leon becomes aware of a significant internal shift. His faith power has been surging uncontrollably, and he suspects it's directly linked to the widespread broadcast of the interview videos. As the people's gratitude pours in, he realizes he must learn to navigate the unfamiliar territory of public perception and future interviews. The moment they step outside, the new reality hits them. People on the street immediately recognize Leon, their faces breaking into warm, welcoming smiles. Evelyn reflects on the profound change, musing that ever since Leon revealed the true extent of his strength, the world has finally begun to grant him the respect he deserves. Now, not a single soul dares to speak ill of him. Even the senior students address him with profound respect. They call him Instructor Ning, and as he walks the halls, students call out to him, their voices filled with admiration. Wherever he goes, a crowd follows, their eyes fixed on him, their whispers echoing sentiments of awe. They all dream of being like him, a truly impressive figure, wishing for even a fraction of his strength. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, back in Chinu City, Captain Zhou marvels at how the city itself has been elevated in status. Its newfound fame is entirely thanks to Ning Fung. Nearby, Mayor Zheng exhales heavily, a sheen of sweat on his brow. Captain Zhou notices his unease and questions the persistent sighing. Just then, Jing excuses herself for a critical call. The mayor, his voice laced with anxiety, explains that while he knows Ning Fung is bound for the academy, a deeper fear plagues him. He's terrified that the mysterious Grand Chief will also depart. He reveals that Duan contacted him only a few days ago. Duan had expressed his intent to return the mansion that had been arranged, a clear sign that the enigmatic Grand Chief now rarely graces Chinu City with his presence. The mayor's fear is that without the formidable presence of such a powerful protector, Chinu City could crumble back into its dark past. A past haunted by 2 secret realm anomalies and a devastating realm invasion. The mere thought of it, he confesses, steals his sleep at night. At that moment, Captain Zhou sees Jing return from her call, her expression tense and worried. He immediately presses her for details. She explains that she was on the line with her master. Her master had relayed an incredible offer. The mysterious Grandmaster is willing to accept her into a special training program. The mayor is overjoyed. He exclaims that they are all counting on her now. Zhou, ever the joker, teases that dinner will be her treat. And you'd better take care of me in the future, he adds. A flustered Jing demands to know what on earth they're all talking about. In a separate meeting, the elder, Lao Feng, conveys the startling information he received from the mysterious Grandmaster. The room is filled with gasps of astonishment as they ask if the old man is certain. He solemnly confirms it, explaining that the Grandmaster's message was clear. The chief reveals a monumental decision to release the formulas for advanced potions to the entire nation. Mr. Fung elaborates on this, explaining his plan to petition the higher authorities for a state-sanctioned alchemy workshop. This workshop would collaborate directly with the enigmatic master, a move Silas muses is critical, considering the Blue Blade Guild is currently the sole possessor of these invaluable formulas. He recognizes the immense weight this places upon their shoulders, concluding that, if the nation itself could manufacture these advanced potions, then both the price and supply could finally be controlled, bringing relief and stability to everyone. Silas expresses his sincere hope for this outcome, but introduces a shadow of doubt, stating that while he offers his unwavering support for this initiative, he must question whether the mysterious Grandmaster's intentions are as altruistic as they appear on the surface. A perplexed Yara asks Silas to elaborate. He then reveals a disturbing discovery. The advanced potions circulating on the black market possess effects identical to those crafted by the Blue Blade Guild, with the only discernible difference being their packaging. He stresses that he has conducted a thorough inventory, confirming that not a single potion is missing from the Guild's official stocks. As for the small number of potions sent to the auction house, each one was enchanted with a tracking spell upon its release, and yet, not one has been traced back to the black market. His voice rises with frustration as he demands, "Then where are these illicit potions originating from?" Silas presses his point, reminding the group of a crucial detail from the day they conquered the Trial Realm. It was Dorian who mentioned that the mysterious Grandmaster was already in possession of the advanced potion formulas, even back then. Mr. Arcan chimes in with a grim observation, noting that a sprawling underground network like the black market inherently operates beyond the reach of the law. It's a breeding ground for illicit transactions, and he voices his fear that these powerful potions may have already been acquired by dangerous factions, completely unbeknownst to them. He adds that regardless of the Grandmaster's original intent, the outcome is the same. They are inadvertently arming their enemies. Mr. Fung concedes that this alarming possibility cannot be ignored. He vows to dispatch an investigator at once, but clarifies that Jin must first complete her specialized training. Only after her training is finished can she be deployed. Furthermore, he adds, it is now imperative that they inform the mysterious Grandmaster of these developments. Observing the tense standoff, Arca interjected, his voice carrying a weight of prior warning. He reminded them all of a truth he often spoke, that for the powerful to act on whim, without any form of restraint, is the very essence of chaos. He stated unequivocally that regardless of Director Lao Fang's intentions, the Endless Guild would be dispatching its own agents to collaborate with the Blue Blade Guild in the coming investigation. He leaned in, his gaze sharp, emphasizing that if these high-grade potions were traced back to the mysterious Grand Chief, he would demand nothing less than complete impartiality from Director Lao Fang and an end to any talk of unilateral action. Lao Fang met his stare, a calm expression on his face, assuring Arca that there was no cause for alarm. He declared that if the trail did indeed lead back to the Grand Chief, he would personally shoulder the entire burden of responsibility. In a hidden realm far away, the protest team was gathered, their expressions grim. Xiao Tian was explaining his brother's iron-fisted control over their potion stores, noting that every single vial was rigorously catalogued upon arrival and departure. He insisted that no leaks or anomalies had ever been recorded. Rui Feng nodded in agreement, adding that the potions from his own family were jointly managed by him and his grandfather, their constant cross-checks leaving no margin for error. A troubled Ning Fung confessed that he had never grasped the profound importance of their potions until this moment. He was stunned by the meticulous care his friends took, but he also recognized that it was this very diligence that now allowed them to confirm the integrity of their own supplies. With their innocence established, Ning Fung posed the crucial question. Since the contraband potions did not originate from their guilds, nor from the Blue Blade Guild, then how did they find their way into the shadowed corners of the black market? He voiced the chilling thought that plagued him. He wondered aloud if there could be others out there, unknown to them, who had somehow mastered their coveted formulas. Meanwhile, in that very black market, amidst the hum of illicit trade and whispered deals, a shadowy figure remained perfectly still, observing the chaos. From beneath a deep cowl, the man noted with a hint of amusement that he never thought the 7 great guilds would deign to send their own investigators. Gazing at a lone potion vial, he reassures his followers, telling them not to be concerned. He is certain that the inhabitants of the lower world remain completely oblivious to their presence. After all, he had demonstrated its effects right before their eyes. Suddenly, his head turns as he remarks with surprise that another customer has apparently arrived seeking a potion. The mage sighs, muttering that this location is truly accursed, a place notoriously difficult to locate. The bald warrior informs his master that the mage and swordsman have come to acquire some high-grade experience potions. However, the mage sharply corrects him, stating they are not here for commerce. Instead, their purpose is to investigate a particular individual. She elaborates that roughly a week ago, a young assassin garbed in white visited this very place to purchase potions from the cloaked figure, but was never seen again. She then directly confronts the mysterious man, demanding to know the assassin's fate. One of the underlings whispers to his master that it appears their new guests have arrived with the intent to cause trouble. In that instant, the hooded man casts off his disguise, unleashing his grotesque tentacles without a moment's hesitation, ensnaring both the swordsman and the mage by their mouths. He violently yanks them forward, injecting them with a potent paralyzing agent. They fall unconscious almost instantly. The bald warrior, consumed by terror, immediately prostrates himself before his master. He stammers that the pair had deceived him, swearing he genuinely believed they were only there to buy potions. The malevolent being tells the warrior to put his mind at ease, explaining that he had very deliberately selected this specific location to handle such intrusions, knowing that disappearances within the black market seldom raise any alarms. Then, the demon callously tosses the adventurers' bodies aside, ordering his minions to drag them to the level below. Down in the subterranean chamber, the grim sight of several adventurers' bodies is revealed, preserved in a strange, viscous substance. The bald man carelessly throws the unconscious heroes onto the cold floor as the demon lord observes that their current collection of individuals is now sufficient. He instructs everyone to take a brief respite, for the true work will begin once the next batch of warriors awakens. Declaring their next move, he proclaimed that, in a bygone era, they had risen to become the undisputed masters of the world. The demon lord unleashes a torrent of his dark energy, cautioning his followers that his time in this realm is fleeting. He cannot linger, and with that final warning, he vanishes into the sky, streaking away with incredible velocity. His journey ends at a grand mansion, where his malevolent essence invades the body of an elder from the prestigious Blue Sharp Guild. A chilling, sinister smile instantly twists the elder's face. A few days later, Leo is on the phone with Ethan. He inquires about any new information Ethan might have unearthed while navigating the treacherous depths of the black market. Ethan reports that a number of people managed to acquire top-tier potions from the underground network. However, the merchants have vanished without a trace, leading Ethan to suspect they were tipped off and have gone to ground. Leo calmly accepts the news, simply instructing his friend to keep him informed of any further developments. A wave of self-reproach washes over Ethan. He feels unworthy to serve his master, unable to manage even this seemingly simple task. Just then, a call from Clara interrupts his thoughts. Answering, he immediately asks if she's had any breakthroughs on her end. Navigating a bustling street, Clara regretfully informs him that her own investigation has yet to yield any significant results. Meanwhile, in a desolate hideout, a terrifying transformation begins as the lifeless shells left by the demon lord start to stir. With unnatural movements, they rise as one, forming a macabre army of possessed adventurers. The following day, life at the academy continues. Leo's class is gathered for their midday meal when one of his classmates makes a surprised observation. He muses on how assistant Nora possesses an incredibly powerful aura, yet carries herself with a complete lack of arrogance. It dawns on him that after just a few days together, a comfortable familiarity has already settled over the entire class. As Leo surveys his classmates, he reminds himself that this very hall is filled with the nation's future. These are the most promising young talents, and with his ambition to reach a global stage, and to command the very power of belief itself, he understands that winning their unwavering loyalty is absolutely crucial. A curious student approached Leo, her voice tinged with admiration. "Have you ever considered joining a guild? Surely someone with your extraordinary talents has already received countless invitations." A faint smile touched Liu Feng's lips as he politely clarified, "For the time being, I have no intention of joining any established guild." Seizing the moment, another adventurer quickly interjected, his voice cutting through the crowd's whispers. "Are you planning to forge your own path, then? To create your own guild? Or perhaps," he pressed on, "is the Sovereign Lion Guild already under your command?" Leo calmly explained that the Sovereign Lion Guild was not his to claim. "It belongs to a close friend," he stated. "I am simply operating under its banner for now." Overhearing this, a student silently concluded that, apparently, the Sovereign Lion Guild must be a minor, local organization, lacking any significant national presence or renown. Yet, a deeper realization dawned on him. With such an assembly of elite talent orbiting Leo, his future prospects were nothing short of limitless. Moved by this insight, he approached assistant Yue Wang. "I would like to formally apply to join the Sovereign Lion Guild," he declared with conviction. "Are there any specific requirements I must meet?" he inquired. Yue Wang was momentarily flustered by the directness of the request, her cheeks flushing. Her surprise didn't deter others. Inspired, more students surged forward, announcing, "We're graduating this year. We would be honored to join the Sovereign Lion Guild." Later, as Leo's group departed after their meal, the cleric in their party let out a bright, unrestrained laugh. She remarked, "After looking over everyone's impressive credentials, I've realized that each new applicant is more incredible than the last. Are we on the verge of becoming famous?" she wondered aloud. "Perhaps even rivaling the 7 great guilds?" Yue, still flustered from the attention, remarked how their simple, ordinary lunch had unexpectedly spiraled into a full-blown recruitment drive. Ning Fang and Rui Fang shared a laugh at the sheer absurdity of the situation. Internally, Leo reflected that he had only planned to scout for promising individuals at the training camp. But the outcome had dramatically exceeded his wildest expectations. He considered the new power dynamics. With Zhao Chong permanently removed from the equation, Yue Wang now held undisputed control of the guild. This development meant it could seamlessly function as his own personal reserve force. As for Zhao Chong's disappearance, Leo mused it was simply a case of profound misfortune for the man. His thoughts drifted further, recalling that Zhao Chong's own father had been entangled in dark dealings with the notorious Pang Hu and Gu Ying. More disturbingly, during the official investigation, the authorities had unearthed a sinister ritual altar, a grim testament to their wicked ambitions. In the homes of Zhao Cheng and his loyal followers, the authorities moved swiftly, armed with search warrants that spelled the end of their operation. With Zhao Cheng and his accomplices officially wanted, Yue had already severed their ties to the guild, a decisive action that spared him considerable future turmoil. Just then, Ning Feng's phone buzzed to life. It was Duan, his messages painting a picture of several deeply unsettling discoveries. A subordinate reported that Jing had pinpointed the location from a photograph, leading them to a derelict building deep within the black market, where they uncovered a clandestine potion-making setup. Among the equipment, they found high-level experience potions, their packaging a perfect match for those previously found by the Blue Sharp Guild. The unavoidable conclusion was that this hidden laboratory was the source of the leak. Ning Fung's mind raced, a cold realization dawning on him as he stared at the photos Duan had sent. It couldn't be a coincidence. The pieces were falling into a terrifying pattern. At the scene, Jing noted the lingering traces of dark power, speculating aloud if this could be the work of some new, unusual mutant. But Duan, arriving at that moment, gravely corrected him. "That's not it," he stated, explaining that this was a phenomenon never before documented, because it involved an insidious threat: parasitic demons. Duan's memory drifted to his master's teachings, recalling that monsters were typically unable to survive for long outside the confines of their secret realms. The parasitic demon, however, was a terrifying exception. He elaborated that these creatures required living hosts to reproduce, eventually consuming and completely seizing control of their victims' mind and body. Without highly specialized methods, it was nearly impossible to tell the difference between a normal person and a host who had been tragically overtaken. Duan added that, based on their observations, the creatures were still, in their infancy, exceedingly weak and reliant on stealth. He pointed to the grotesque holes in the ground, identifying them as parasitic nests. It was from these burrows that the demons had emerged. A wave of fear washed over Jing as he asked, "Does that mean they've already?" Duan's grim nod confirmed his fears. "Yes. The parasitic demons that were here have most likely hatched and scattered far from this place." A cold sweat broke out on Jing's brow. He stammered, realizing this meant an unknowable number of these creatures had already silently infiltrated the human world. Duan, his own expression deeply troubled, stated grimly that this horrifying discovery wasn't even the most critical issue they faced. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Blue Sharp Guild, Shou voices his frustration, noting that days have bled into one another with no new discoveries. Just then, a chilling presence announces itself. Elder Wang, his body now a vessel for the parasitic demon, makes his entrance, and Shou immediately turns to face him. He questions the elder, asking if something is wrong, but his concern is met with a sinister smile before Wang unleashes a horrifying torrent of tentacles. The appendages lash out, rapidly ensnaring both Shou and Elder Arca. Restrained and helpless, a terrified Shou screams, demanding to know what monstrous thing Wang has become. Wasting no time, the parasite controlling Wang's body injects its venom into them, a potent toxin that takes hold almost instantly. The poison saps their strength, forcing both heroes to their knees as a terrifying, diabolical laugh echoes from Wong's throat. The demon, speaking through Wong, mockingly comments that it had only expected to find Shu, never anticipating that the old master, Arca, would also be present. It declares this a most pleasant surprise, as two warriors of the fifth transformation are a rare prize indeed. Their power, it gloats, will be more than enough to greatly enhance its own strength. As Wong turns to leave, the demon proclaims that serving as vessels to propagate its race will be the greatest honor these inferior creatures could ever hope to achieve. Meanwhile, within the parasitic demon's hidden lair, Dwayne is urgently explaining the situation to Jean. He relays what the Prota told him, that a small number of these parasitic demons, on their own, are not particularly formidable. However, they possess a terrifyingly unique ability known as Swarm. As their population grows, the entire collective receives a massive, overall boost in power. The strength of each individual demon rises significantly. At the same time, the king, the central entity responsible for birthing and feeding the others, receives an even greater surge of power than its common brethren. A concerned Jean immediately asks if this means the demons have been hiding within the black market all this time, silently growing their numbers and accumulating power. Dwayne confirms his suspicion, adding that it makes perfect sense when you consider one crucial fact: human potions are completely ineffective against them. Therefore, it's highly likely the potions sold on the market were never a weapon, but merely bait to lure in unsuspecting hosts. The grim realization sends a chill down Jean's spine, and he asks what they can possibly do. Dwayne continues his explanation, revealing that the Prota had also mentioned a potential weakness. Once the collective power of the parasitic demons reaches a critical threshold, their immense dark energy will become so concentrated that it will cause detectable anomalies on any instrument or spell designed to sense such forces. Furthermore, if they hope to eliminate the demons entirely, to succeed, they would need divine artifacts. A confused Jade pressed Dane, demanding to know what those were. He explained that they are legendary items, either gifts from the gods themselves or relics blessed by divine beings. Absorbing this critical information, she declared her intention to report to her superior immediately. She also had to find a way to procure a divine artifact as quickly as possible. Yet her mind drew a complete blank on where to even start looking. However, she held on to the conviction that her master would have a lead, a path that would guide her to one once the situation was fully explained. Dane was also stumped, pondering where such a powerful item could be found, when he suddenly recalled a memory from the previous Demon King. Buried within that inherited knowledge were crucial details about parasitic demons, which was the source of his insight into their nature. These vile creatures coexist with their hosts, and when they are subjected to grievous harm, a terrifying process begins. They transfer the entirety of their injuries onto their host, forcing them to share the burden as a twisted form of survival. Dane knew that only the hallowed power of a divine artifact could counteract this unholy characteristic of the parasitic demons. Only such an item could achieve the precise separation required. However, as he contemplated this, a harsh reality dawned on him. Nothing in their known world seemed to meet these demanding conditions. He also understood the truth about the parasitic demons' methods. They operate from the shadows, and if they were to continue unchecked, they would unleash catastrophic destruction. He wondered how he could possibly eliminate such an insidious threat. At that very moment, the sharp ring of his phone cut through the tension. It was Ning Fung, his voice urgent, demanding to know what was wrong. Dane reported that a massive surge of dark power had erupted. The epicenter was the Blue Sharp Guild. Exactly as he had predicted, Dane confirmed that all contact with everyone inside the guild had been lost. This included President Shiyu herself, and worse, adventurers displaying strange and erratic behavior were now gathering at the guild's location. Ning Fung immediately grabbed his coat, ordering Dane to ensure no one got close to the area, warning him of the extreme danger. He declared that he would investigate the situation personally. Sometime later, at the Blue Sharp Guild headquarters, a voice belonging to Huang remarked with satisfaction. "Finally, the time for us to remain in the shadows has come to an end," he speaks, his gaze sweeping over the countless enthralled adventurers arrayed before him. Arca and Shu Yi, now completely possessed, stand among them. In unison, their voices cry out to their leader, announcing that all clan members have finally gathered. Wang suddenly senses a strange presence, turning sharply to identify its source. Every eye follows, as a lone figure approaches. It is Fung. Standing before the entire horde of parasitic demons, Fung's expression hardens with resolve, while Wang's face contorts. He is utterly shocked, recognizing the warrior from the video he witnessed earlier. He immediately demands to know what Fung is doing there. Fung calmly observes the situation, noting that there are far too many controlled individuals in one place. Using a curse of mass destruction would only turn them into living shields for their parasitic masters. He silently wonders if the weapon in his hand could truly be considered a divine artifact. Wang, however, wastes no time and bellows at him. He demands to know why Fung is there and who dared to send him. Fung remains impassive. His expression is serious as he asks the creature before him if it is the king among them. Wang merely smirks, asking if Fung has come to join their cause. His question is immediately followed by a sinister laugh, making it perfectly clear that he would never allow humans from the lower world to follow him. He proclaims that he is aware of Feng's immense power, and that with such a formidable body, they could create warriors of even greater strength. With that, he immediately launches a barrage of tentacles toward Feng. Without any difficulty, Feng slices through every single tentacle. Wang is completely stunned, having never expected such a response. The parasitic demon screams in frustration, admitting that Feng is indeed a powerful opponent. But he insists that even with such strength, it will never be enough to achieve victory against him. He claims the gap in power between him and Feng is as vast as the chasm separating mortals from gods. Clutching his sword, Feng thinks to himself that he had already anticipated that normal weapon attacks would have no effect. Wang, conversely, believes he has confirmed his suspicions that in this world there are no divine artifacts. He concludes that the hero is merely wielding an ordinary weapon. In response, Feng begins to concentrate, a new power starting to coalesce around him. Behind Huang, a fissure in reality tears open, eliciting a scream of pure alarm as Ning Fung activates his ability. This is the Gate of Darkness, a conduit to the infinite abyss, capable of summoning its denizens for 12 long hours. Alternatively, it can call forth a single, high-ranking demon lord, a being bound by no time limit. Huang erupts in a sinister laugh, sneering that it's no wonder Ning Feng possesses such unnatural power. Yet, for all his strength, he remains nothing more than a puppet, a mere lackey to some fiendish lord. As he watches the ominous gate widen, Huang taunts that Ning Feng must feel he cannot win on his own. With a terrifying expression, he mocks him for summoning his master just to save his own skin. He makes it chillingly clear that when a superior being forcibly crosses into a lower world, its power is severely restricted. Unless the evil god itself were to descend in person, its influence would be drastically diminished. In this lesser world, he declares himself invincible. Ning Feng, however, calculates that a so-called high-ranking demon lord is essentially a trusted general. These subordinates of the evil god often carry powerful treasures, artifacts granted to them by their dark deity. Such items were known to be devastatingly effective against parasitic demons. He watches with keen curiosity, wondering what manner of creature would emerge. He silently hopes it will not be something too extreme to handle. At that very moment, a pair of terrifying, crimson eyes ignites within the fissure. From the depths of the Gate of Darkness, to Ning Feng's utter shock, a demonic capybara calmly steps forth from the rift. The sight leaves even the arrogant Huang utterly bewildered, while Ning Feng wonders in disappointment if this creature is truly a high-ranking demon lord. The capybara begins to amble forward, slowly approaching the horde of parasitized adventurers. Then, it simply leans forward and collapses onto the ground. Huang bursts into derisive laughter, demanding to know what in the hell that creature is. He scoffs that he cannot sense even the slightest trace of dark power from it. However, he suddenly feels his body being dragged down by an immense force. He is pulled violently, crashing face first into the unforgiving ground. Following that, the demonic capybara stirs, emanating a terrible, oppressive aura. It causes every single possessed individual to collapse in unison, their rage silenced. Hudson cries out, demanding to know what sorcery binds him, his body frozen under an immense, unseen weight. As the pressure crushes down, the demonic capybara emerges, its jaws snapping shut as it begins to devour one of the parasitic fiends. Aiden watches in grim satisfaction, realizing the creature has just swallowed the shadow-lurking parasite whole. This, he mused, was a power far more tangible and terrifying than any divine gift. A scream tears from Hudson's throat. "Impossible!" he shrieks. "I thought it would be a demon lord at worst." His eyes, wide with terror, fix on Aiden as he demands to know what unholy abomination Aiden has unleashed upon him. A cold smirk plays on Aiden's lips as he taunts the trapped man. "Weren't you just boasting of your invincibility in this lower realm?" Blood trickling from his lips, Hudson's bravado shatters into pure terror. "That wasn't true. It was just a boast," he pleads, begging Aiden not to take his empty words seriously. Stepping into view, Aiden raises a device. "Then perhaps you'll assist me with a research video," he says, as the recording begins. His gaze then shifts to the parasitic demon. "Explain," he commands, How did you infiltrate our world? The parasite reveals its story. Previously, Hudson and his team had trespassed into its hidden domain. It seized a moment of distraction, latching onto Hudson and using him as an unsuspecting vessel. Through him, it crossed the veil into this world. Aiden presses further. And what were you in your own realm? A hidden boss, perhaps? He speculates. The parasite's essence ripples in confirmation. Exactly as you describe, it confesses, explaining that in the beginning, its power was negligible. It could only lurk within the shadows of the black market, where disappearances would scarcely attract the attention of any important figures. However, as its strength swelled, it evolved beyond the need for a lengthy incubation stage, gaining the ability to directly control humans through its larva. This newfound power emboldened it to finally target the formidable Blue Sharp Guild. With the confession captured, Aiden transmits the complete recording to the guild leaders' assembly, where they watch the chilling footage. Evelyn is the first to respond, her voice grave. Given our current lack of the necessary security protocols, we simply cannot. To either contain or preserve the parasitic demon, he fears they must place their trust entirely in Ning Fung to resolve this crisis. And though it is a bitter pill to swallow, they must admit that as a lesser realm, they are utterly defenseless against abominations of this magnitude. As these horrors continue to surface, Evan Chan grimly notes that if Ning Fung hadn't stepped in, the Blue Shark Guild would have been utterly annihilated. A visibly shaken Liu Wang adds that the devastation wouldn't have stopped there. Even the 7 great guilds, and perhaps the entire world, would have faced certain doom. There would have been absolutely nothing they could have done to prevent it. In that moment of despair, Elder Fong urges everyone not to lose heart, reminding them that, when all is said and done, the enigmatic Grandmaster and Ning Fung have consistently stood as their allies. Now that the mystery surrounding the high-level potion has been put to rest, and it's confirmed to be completely unrelated to the mysterious Grand Leader, a wave of relief washes over them. Unanimously, everyone raises their hands, voicing their complete agreement and stating they have no objections. They are in full accord with Elder Fong. Later, at the training center, the Elder informs the hero that the government plans to establish a new corporation, one solely dedicated to producing and distributing a range of high-level potions. A staggering 80% of all profits will be allocated as shares directly to the mysterious Grand Leader. Kane is taken aback by such a generous arrangement, realizing instantly that his concerns were unfounded. This is an offer made in the utmost sincerity. Elder Fong adds that, on top of this, the nation intends to publicly honor the hero for his recent valorous deeds, with a formal ceremony. This event is scheduled to take place during the training camp's closing festivities. Furthermore, a flood of reporters has requested interviews with the hero. Ning Fung's eyes light up with excitement. This is the perfect opportunity he's been waiting for to accumulate. The power of faith, an opportunity he absolutely cannot afford to miss. The hero then signs the document, sealing his agreement with Elder Fong. Afterward, Ning Fung mentions his need to return to the training camp, entrusting the demonic capybara to Dean's care for the time being. Since the creature's diet appeared to consist solely of monsters, Duan assured him it was perfectly fine. He even offered to guide it to a secret realm to find suitable nourishment, privately acknowledging the creature's immense power. Duan reflected on how the protagonist's demonic capybara had effortlessly vanquished a parasitic demon, realizing its strength might now eclipse his own. This humbling insight ignited a fierce resolve within him, compelling him to intensify his training and strive for greater power. The protagonist rested his hand on the demonic capybara's head, contemplating its unique and formidable ability. It seemed to manifest as a demonic aura, an overwhelming pressure that completely obliterated the fighting spirit of his adversaries. Under normal circumstances, this power remained dormant, so he felt no urgent need to deliberately conceal its existence. In that moment, the creature's attention was drawn to something on Ning Fung, and it began intently sniffing the pendant around his neck, a memento from Hanin. Ning Fung observed this, noting with curiosity how the small creature was always drawn to the pendant. As he gently petted it, he couldn't help but wonder if a deeper, unseen connection existed between the two. Noting the creature's perpetually sluggish and unhurried demeanor, Ning Fung decided, "Since you're always so slow and lazy, I'll call you Momo," a name meaning slow. Later, at the training camp's teacher dormitory, Ning Fung was gathered with his friends. Suddenly, a voice cut through their conversation, asking for the whereabouts of the great hero. Turning, he saw a small child approaching them. The girl looked him up and down, directly questioning, "Are you truly the great hero, Ning Fung?" He was momentarily bewildered by the title of hero, but Rui Feng simply laughed and greeted the child, calling her Professor G. A look of recognition dawned on her face as she replied, "Well, It has been quite a while since I've seen the grandson of old Lao. Both Ning Fung and Jiangshu were stunned to hear Ruifeng address a mere child as a professor. Ruifeng explained that the girl, Xie Yan, was a distinguished guest professor at Beijing University. She also held the position of an honorary advisor to the 7 great guilds, and had been a colleague of his father years ago. He concluded by stating that a vast number of modern theories and technologies related to secret realms were founded upon her pioneering research. Liu Feng, genuinely impressed, remarked that the entire display was truly extraordinary. Evelyn Shea, however, quickly clarified that if they were discussing impressive feats, then Liu Feng was the one who unequivocally deserved the title, having rescued so many people from peril. She further elaborated that her own delayed arrival was due to critical research being conducted within a hidden realm. In fact, she had only reached the training camp the previous evening, spurred on by the widespread accounts of Leo's heroic exploits. Compelled by the stories, she had hurried over to see for herself what the celebrated hero was really like, causing Liu Feng to feel rather flustered. He insisted that she was flattering him far too much, while simultaneously recalling that he had seen her name during the camp's initial presentation. He now remembered that Evelyn Shi was the head of his assigned research group. He had simply imagined she would be a stern, elderly professor. He never would have anticipated her to possess such a vivacious and enthusiastic personality. A thought interrupted when Chloe took his hand and asked if he had eaten. Without waiting for a reply, she warmly invited him to join them, proudly presenting the breakfast spread. She explained that every dish was a rare delicacy she had personally prepared using materials harvested from monsters. After the first bite, everyone voiced their amazement at how delicious it was, far exceeding their expectations, leaving Ethan Zhang particularly stunned. He noted with confusion that Professor Lee hadn't performed his usual wake-up call that morning, a sentiment Rebecca echoed with her own curiosity. She added that the professor was typically awake much earlier than any of them. Meanwhile, a weary Professor Lee looked utterly exhausted. He silently lamented how Professor Evelyn had forced them to work through the entire night immediately upon her return. He was keenly aware, however, that she had deliberately refrained from summoning Leo and his companions for the task. Her justification was that Liu Feng, as a hero, had earned his right to a proper rest, a thought which only irked the professor more. Professor Lee concluded that the blatant difference in their treatment was profoundly unfair, just as Evelyn Shi's cheerful laughter filled the air back at the table. She mentioned that she had reviewed the video of his evaluation exam, commending Leo's performance as absolutely perfect for a mage of his age. Mia then added that the professor might not be aware, but Liu Feng was, and had always been, the undisputed #1 student in their class. Coming in at #1 in theoretical performance, Aiden is approached by Jia, who comments on his remarkable achievement. She confesses it has been an incredibly long time since she encountered someone with such a solid theoretical foundation, let alone one who also possesses formidable combat skills. Coincidentally, she brought back some unique items from the secret realm. With a hint of mystery, she invites him to take a look. Aiden, surprised, asks what she means by unique items. Later, they arrive at a bustling research laboratory where Professor Lee is deeply engrossed in his work. Jia glances at Aiden, asking if it's his first time in a research lab, then apologetically gestures at the clutter. She explains it's only a temporary facility. The moment she enters, the other professors look up, their faces filled with surprise to see her. However, she calmly asks them to resume their work, explaining she is merely showing the laboratory to Aiden and his friends. Professor Lee is inwardly shocked, his mind racing as he recognizes Aiden's group as nothing more than a few teaching assistants. Yet, here they were, receiving personal attention from the highest echelons. His thoughts drift as he carefully handles a tray of strange crystals. The group instinctively gathers around him, their collective gaze making the professor feel a surge of nervous pressure. Suddenly, the pendant around Aiden's neck begins to pulse with a soft light as he detects a faint, almost imperceptible energy fluctuation nearby. He realizes it's emanating from Hanan's pendant and wonders what could have triggered it. At that moment, Jia turns to face him. She gestures toward the crystals, asking Aiden to examine them closely and share his thoughts. Fung, his curiosity piqued, is the first to step forward. He inspects the artifacts intently, noting that based on the meticulously worked sections on their sides, they weren't naturally formed. They appear to be fragments of something crafted by intelligent hands, possibly shards from a ruined wall or a shattered sculpture. Dion affirms his conclusion, explaining that based on all previous discoveries, secret realms are supposed to contain only two things: their own isolated ecosystems or primitive monster civilizations. However, she emphasizes that this particular secret realm defies all known precedents. It seems to hold the undeniable traces of a long-lost civilization. Fung, now utterly captivated, presses her to explain further. She reveals that the very pieces he is looking at were unearthed from a remote valley deep within that mysterious secret realm. However, the valley is swarming with overwhelmingly powerful creatures, which has prevented any deep exploration. They've only managed to retrieve these few fragments, yet she theorizes that an entire lost city might be buried within those treacherous depths. A thought strikes Nathan Fung. Could Professor Jade Yen have stumbled upon the very world he once called home? He contemplated the astronomical odds as his gaze settled upon the artifacts. He requested a closer inspection, and the professor readily granted him permission to examine them. As Nathan lifted one of the crystalline objects, he immediately sensed a surge of familiar energy pulsating within it. The power emanated from the crystal, and to his astonishment, the pendant he wore, a relic from his past, began to absorb its very essence. His mind raced with the possibility of a genuine connection. Professor Yen, noticing his focus, asked for his assessment. Ethan concedes that the future is uncertain, suggesting their only path forward is to delve deeper into the secret realm. To uncover the truth, they must see it firsthand. The professor agreed without hesitation, promising to organize the expedition at once. Sometime later, standing at the entrance to the enigmatic realm, Jade Yan introduced her elite research team. She assured Nathan that her specialists would offer their complete cooperation to him and his companions during the mission. The academics were visibly thrilled, declaring it a profound honor to meet the legendary Nathan Fung and insisting he need only ask for anything he required. Riley Fang observed the group with a keen eye, recognizing them as top-tier scholars from the pinnacle of academia. These were individuals who could lead departments at any university, yet they showed a rare, profound deference to one person. She couldn't help but marvel at how Nathan had so effortlessly earned their deep respect. Nearby, Chloe Chang felt a wave of uncertainty. She quietly questioned if she was truly qualified to be part of such a momentous undertaking. Wendy Wang, however, gently reassured her, reminding her that they were a team, and their collaboration was not just expected but essential. Their thoughts were cut short when Professor Yan's voice rang out, urging the expedition forward as they pressed deeper into the alien landscape to begin their analysis. Suddenly, the ground trembled as something unseen hurtled toward them with terrifying speed. Without warning, a colossal assassin worm erupted from the earth, its maw gaping. Zion is startled, but the berserker moves like a shadow, effortlessly slicing the creature in half. The Vanguard calmly reassures the professor, his steady voice cutting through the tension, urging everyone to keep moving forward. Zion's team watches in stunned silence, unable to believe the terrifying assassin worm was felled with a single blow. Meanwhile, Sean, standing beside the chasm the worm created, calls out to Professor G, his voice echoing with discovery. "Professor, I've found something." Deep inside the pit, they can see the clear outlines of constructed structures. Without hesitation, the team swiftly descends to investigate. Zion observes the crumbling architecture, remarking that these are unmistakably the traces left behind by a forgotten civilization. He then poses a grim question. Could the original inhabitants have been completely annihilated by the very monsters that now claim this land? Felix considers Zion's hypothesis chillingly plausible, recalling that the Judgment Secret Realm, once managed by the Azure Blade Guild, was originally a world that cradled its own distinct civilization. At that very moment, the Protus pendant begins to react again. Spinning around, his eyes lock onto another crystal gleaming nearby, and Felix realizes it is another fragment, just like the previous one, generating powerful magical fluctuations whenever it draws near to Hannah's pendant once again. He can't help but wonder if more of these potent fragments are hidden deeper within the labyrinthine ruins. Suddenly, a team member alerts Professor Zion, reporting a strong, ominous fluctuation of dark power detected directly ahead. Upon arriving at the source of the energy, the entire group is met with the awe-inspiring sight of colossal, pulsating crystals. They hum with an incredible intensity, and Professor Zion shouts that the overwhelming dark power is emanating from the apex of the massive platform they are now seeing. Felix notes that the sensation he feels is disturbingly similar to that of the magic circle used to summon the evil god, yet it is far more oppressive than anything he has ever encountered before. Without warning, a being cloaked in a monstrous aura appears, accompanied by a legion of terrifying, twisted creatures. The demon lets out a guttural roar, and immediately, its goblin soldiers charge forward with unrelenting ferocity. Sean shouts a warning to his companion. "There are too many of them, and they're unbelievably fast. We have to be careful." Rylan calmly acknowledges, assuring his teammates that there is nothing to fear. With him guarding their flank, they could confidently treat this overwhelming assault as a mere trial of their skills. On the front lines, the hulking berserker and the swift swordsman begin to carve through the goblin ranks with contemptuous ease. Their relentless slaughter completely stalls the monstrous advance, a sight that makes the demon chief, watching from above, seethe with rage. Elsewhere, on the outskirts of the chaotic battlefield, Professor Anya and her own squad carefully navigate the treacherous landscape. She murmurs that the tide of monsters appears infinite, realizing the immense pressure her students must be facing. Fearing the challenge might overwhelm them, Yuna turns to Rylan, declaring her intention to take down the demon chief herself. She points to the commander perched on the highest peak, and Rylan simply replies that it will not be a problem. He instructs her to push forward with the Vanguard, promising to handle the rest as he erupts with power, vaporizing the creatures swarming him. Professor Anya's group witnesses this incredible display, left utterly speechless and questioning the reality of what they are seeing. Somehow, the student they knew only as an assistant, Rylan, is single-handedly holding back an endless legion of monsters. As his power surges, Rylan reflects that allowing Yuna to personally command the assault was the perfect decision. It was a flawless strategy, because Caden, Professor Kane, and Alara had all endured his grueling, specialized training. He knew their true strength was not to be taken lightly, and was confident that even without his direct guidance, the team would never falter. His faith was well placed. Meanwhile, the very monsters surrounding Rylan begin to recoil, their primal instincts screaming with terror. They hesitate to press their attack, a phenomenon Professor Anya's team observes with awe, noting that even the beasts are terrified to face him. Seizing the opportunity, Yuna and her strike team surge towards their target, shouting that the demon chief is directly in their sights. She calls for her allies to maintain their defenses and healing, but their target reacts instantly, unleashing a powerful ability. A blinding sandstorm erupts, swirling into a massive vortex. But through the chaos, the chief spots a deadly projectile. An arrow. It closes the distance in a heartbeat, and with no time to react, the demon chief is brutally pierced by the shot. Moments earlier, at the very threshold of the secret realm, a new arrival's gaze fell upon the grotesque carcass of an assassin worm sprawled on the ground. A tense voice immediately cut through the air, observing that they were clearly not the only ones to have found their way into this hidden domain. Realizing that these unknown individuals might have already discovered the entrance, a commanding shout echoed, ordering everyone to press forward with haste. They had to locate these trespassers before the heart of the world was discovered. At that very instant, a synthesized voice announced that a life signal had been pinpointed. It was located at the exit ahead, likely belonging to hostiles, and the voice instructed all units to prepare for imminent combat. The disembodied voice then attempted to contact the protagonist, Nolan, just as a strange disturbance began to ripple through the secret realm. The mysterious entity monitoring them grimly noted the severity of the situation. The realm itself was being violated. As a result, the domain was beginning to forcefully reject their presence, causing intricate magical circles to flare into existence all around them. Walter Young was visibly startled, turning to Nolan and asking, "Did you hear that?" It sounded as if someone was speaking. Nolan replied that he had heard nothing, his mind still preoccupied with the events that had transpired just moments before. Hannah Yoon's pendant had been drawing energy directly from the crystal, a spectacle that had completely captured his focus. It was then that Sean Yan spoke up to Walter. "I think I heard a voice as well," he admitted, "and it seemed to emanate from the direction of the entrance we just used." He added, however, that the entrance to the secret realm was supposed to be under guard, making it impossible for anyone to have followed them inside. Rebecca Fang then asked Nolan if they should go and assess the situation. Nolan's expression grew serious as he declared they would all investigate together. Once everyone had regrouped, their instructor, Zelda Yan, knelt down, channeling her unique ability to reveal a set of faint footprints on the ground. Zelda explained that the tracks they were observing did not belong to anyone in their group, confirming that someone had, in fact, invaded the realm. Her main concern, however, was why the footprints abruptly disappeared near the exit, just as they approached a new section of the domain. Zelda theorized that the tracks had first appeared in their current region, suggesting that the intruder may have entered through the cavern carved out by the assassin worm, or perhaps they had employed some form of teleportation magic. Furthermore, she added grimly, gesturing to the slain creatures nearby, "Judging by these fresh corpses, it is highly probable that this was the work of our intruders." Later, after delivering their report to the leaders of the great guilds, they ventured into the secret realm, where Ethan Jin began his grim analysis of the fallen. He quickly concluded that the intruders' attacks were devastatingly swift and precise, leaving no evidence of a protracted struggle. This indicated that the invaders were exceptionally powerful. Even the valuable items dropped by the defeated monsters had been completely ignored. Liu Fang's expression grew serious as he remarked that the intruders possessed incredible speed, before launching into an explanation. He described the concept of a speed run, a method for rapidly clearing secret realms that utilizes the most efficient combat strategies. The technique involves eliminating monsters with ruthless efficiency, while selectively gathering only the most crucial treasures. Everything else is left behind, he added, a feat that demands extraordinary skill and perfect coordination within a team. Warren Bu noted that for a secret realm as notoriously difficult as this one, he couldn't imagine any group achieving such a feat. The only exception, he mused, would be Nolan Fang's own legendary team. Sienna Yan then asked Warren if the adventurers could have come from another world. He looked bewildered and asked for clarification, prompting the teacher to explain that while it was purely speculation on her part, the idea might not be so impossible, considering that relics from other worlds had already been unearthed within this very secret realm. Therefore, it was conceivable that other worlds like theirs exist, or perhaps even higher-level realms, with the ability to traverse between dimensions. Nolan Fang found himself captivated by this hypothesis, realizing that Sienna's words might hold a terrifying truth. After all, he had personally witnessed a different world through the memories of the Demon Lord. He had simply never considered the possibility that these worlds could actually intersect. The protagonist also commented to himself, hoping that if the other party did arrive, their intentions would be friendly, or that it would be nothing more than a fleeting encounter. Sienna Yan grimly noted that if their intentions were malicious, they would have to confront a new kind of enemy. This threat would be in addition to the legions of monsters that already plagued their world. Furthermore, she pointed out the intruders' sudden disappearance. It was highly suspicious, and she had no insight into their ultimate goal, or whether they planned to return. Warren Bu grew visibly nervous, commenting that it felt as though one monumental problem was simply giving way to another. Kaylin and Serafina exchange a knowing glance before turning their attention to Alara. With a shared purpose, they approach her, and it is Kaylin who poses the momentous question. Would the Sovereign Lion Guild be interested in ascending to the rank of one of the 7 great guilds, replacing the faltering Blue Sharp Guild? The offer hangs in the air, stunning Alara, who is taken aback by the request from the esteemed president of the Power Guild. He takes a steadying breath and explains the grim reality, admitting that the recent, nightmarish incident with the parasitic demons has left deep scars. He reveals that both the Blue Shark Guild and the New Era Guild have been dealt catastrophic blows from which they cannot recover. The leader of the New Era Guild is voluntarily stepping down, leaving a power vacuum with no successor officially appointed. As for the Blue Sharp Guild, it is hemorrhaging members in a mass exodus that signals its imminent collapse. They have already petitioned for their own demotion, a fact that leaves Alara feeling the immense, awkward weight of the proposition. She stammers, voicing her doubts. But I'm just a high school student, and the Sovereign Lion Guild is only a small organization. Kaylin offers a reassuring smile, informing her that this is no sudden whim, and that the matter has been thoroughly discussed among the leaders. He confirms that all the presidents of the great guilds are eager to welcome her. At that moment, she turns and sees Aiden offering her a warm, encouraging smile. Aiden's voice is a steady anchor, telling her to make the decision that feels right, and promising that no matter what she chooses, he will always be there. He vows to support her, and the other leaders understand that his promise alone is more than enough to solidify Alara's position. With his unwavering backing, concerns about her being a high school student or leading a small guild become utterly insignificant. These issues would simply not be a problem. Overjoyed, a wave of determination washes over Alara as she announces that she is willing to try. She humbly asks only that they guide her if she makes a mistake, a request that draws warm, appreciative laughter from the seasoned leaders. They tell her not to worry. Nearby, a bewildered Leo quietly murmurs to the cleric, still processing the surreal turn of events. He whispers in disbelief that he simply went on a mission in the secret realm, and has somehow emerged as a member of one of the 7 great guilds. Aiden overhears him and smiles to himself, celebrating his friend's incredible and well-deserved entry into the 7 great guilds, has also significantly progressed his plan for building power, and reflecting on it fills him with a profound sense of accomplishment. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him, "Master." He is startled, his mind reeling with confusion about its origin. He glances towards his friend and the others nearby, only to realize that no one else shows any reaction to the sound he just heard. He questions if he's the only one hearing the voice echoing inside his head. His eyes drift down to his necklace, suspecting it might be Aiden's voice. After resolving the immediate issues, the leaders of the great guilds stepped forward to address the assembled teams. They urged everyone on the professor's team to accelerate their workflow, issuing a stern warning that no one was to act independently. Unsure if the intruders might return, they commanded everyone to maintain a state of high alert and to report any anomalies. Any unusual activity was to be reported immediately to Z or to Assistant Professor Kai, a key member of the team. One of the members inquired if this assistant Professor Kai was the celebrated hero who had recently been interviewed, to which another member confirmed with a nod. A wave of relief washed over them, knowing that such a powerful figure was in command, providing a much-needed sense of security. Meanwhile, inside a tent, Leo stood with Professor Jian, observing that the necklace had mysteriously stopped absorbing energy from the crystal. Though the reason was unknown, he was immensely relieved that the crystal's appearance remained unchanged. Any alteration would have surely drawn unwanted attention. As for the voice, he began to wonder if it had all been a figment of his imagination. Just then, the voice called to him again, resonating clearly in his thoughts. "Aiden," Leo mentally projected, "is that you?" The voice responded with an affirmative surge of emotion. "Master, it is truly me, Aiden. I am overjoyed to be able to speak with you again," it added. Leo urged the entity to calm down and explain what was happening. Aiden admitted, "I am not entirely sure myself, but it seems my consciousness has suddenly returned." Leo pressed, "Is this connected to the necklace? It's been absorbing energy from the crystal." Aiden then began to explain, "The heart of the world is the core of a realm, formed through the fusion of the universe's fundamental laws. Even if a world suffers a great calamity, as long as the heart of the world remains untouched, it can endure. While it possesses the ability to slowly restore itself, if the heart of the world were ever to be destroyed, the world itself would face complete and utter obliteration." He goes on, explaining that the immense power held within the heart of the world is the very source of the god's own power. In ages past, the gods utilized its essence to bring their most trusted followers back from the brink. However, Ethan then turns to Elder Prada and apologizes, admitting that his memories still feel frustratingly incomplete. He confesses that no matter how intensely he tries to focus, he simply cannot recall the rest. A gentle smile graces Elder Prada's lips as he tells Ethan, "It is all right." He urges the young man to take all the time required for his recovery, yet his expression soon turns grave. He is deeply worried, finding Ethan's inability to recall everything to be a cause for great concern, and he can't help but wonder if this method of resurrection might carry with it some terrible, unseen side effects. At that very moment, the research team arrives, reporting to Teacher Silas that they have almost finished their excavation of the site. They confirm the abandoned buildings are empty and contain nothing of significance. Meanwhile, the guild leaders are in discussion with Yuna Wang, and Lord Jin comments that, considering the very real possibility of unknown intruders being drawn to the realm's unique energy, he proposes sealing it off completely. Master Wang agrees, stating with urgency that they must evacuate everyone as soon as possible, and then permanently close the entrance to the secret realm. Elder Fang smiles, addressing Yuna Wang as president and asking for her thoughts on the matter. She is visibly startled by the direct question, rendered momentarily speechless by the weight of the title. Elder Fang gently makes it clear to Yuna that she is now a leader among the 7 great guilds, and that decisions of this magnitude require the formal approval of at least 3 presidents. Finding her resolve, she agrees with the proposal to seal it. She states that her opinion is perfectly aligned with Lord Jin's. With the official decision reached by the presidents of the assembled guilds, they proceed with the ritual to seal the secret realm. Sometime later, back at the academy training grounds and inside the teacher's dormitory, Elder Prada is enjoying a bath and humming a quiet tune, when suddenly, Ethan's voice breaks the silence, telling Nina that he is starting to remember everything. The startling thought sent a jolt through him. As he emerged from the bathroom and began to dry off, Ning Fung turned to the demon, his voice sharp with urgency, demanding to know what it remembered. Kai began to explain that, in a forgotten age, the gods harnessed the heart of the world to resurrect their most loyal champions. However, because the heart was saturated with a profound darkness, the gods felt its taint through their connection to these revived followers. They endured a devastating backlash from this power, risking a complete transformation into the very evil deities they opposed. Left with no alternative, the gods were forced to personally execute the followers they had saved, a tragedy that now caused Kai visible distress. He confessed that he did not fear death itself, but he could never allow himself to become a similar affliction. To become a corrupting burden upon Leo Vance was a fate he could not endure, while Leo pictured himself admitting the truth to Kai. The truth was that he was already an evil god, but he knew that such a confession would only deepen Kai's despair. Kai, filled with concern, asked Leo if he was experiencing any discomfort, any sensation that was out of the ordinary. Leo calmly replied that he felt nothing unusual, just as a silent system message materialized in his consciousness, detailing a new passive ability. The ability was named Origin of Darkness, and it granted him complete immunity to the backlash of dark power. Furthermore, it exempted him from all costs and consequences when weaving forbidden spells. Armed with this knowledge, his perspective shifted. Leo turned to Kai and asked if his resurrection had produced any side effects, if it had impacted Leo in any noticeable way. Kai confessed that he wasn't entirely sure. A faint smile touched Leo's lips as he said that now that Kai had returned to life, he should simply focus on living, assuring him that if any trouble arose, they would confront it together when the time came. The former ice demon remarked that Leo's manner of speaking was an exact echo of how he had been in the past. He insisted, however, that he refused to become a liability. In response, Leo simply spoke Kai's name with a somber tone. He continued, "There is something I've been considering, something that I feel you have a right to know." Kai's eyes widened, and he immediately asked the question that now burned in his mind. "Are you an evil god?" Leo explained that the ancient legends were not far from the truth, confirming that the gods themselves had labeled him as such. He then revealed that every spell he cast, regardless of its nature, was now inevitably transformed into a forbidden black curse, leaving Kai stunned. He counters, declaring that Proto was never a malevolent deity, and insists that the true architects of ruin were the gods themselves. He proclaims that it was their insatiable greed that plunged their followers and clans into the abyss of pointless conflict, leading to their demise. His demeanor then shifts, his voice filled with cold conviction as he states that no one valued their existence, and that Proto was the only one who fought to bring them justice. He continues, asserting that it makes no difference whether the gods,